Mic check, mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right. Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Daring Dialogues. I am your host tonight, Shantae Charles, where we believe that women can do anything. Welcome to Women's History Month, and I hope that you have been having a great and wonderful day. So, if you're just tuning in for the first time, we are actually in a countdown for our season. It is season 10, and we are on episode 91, and we're going to hit 1,000 episodes in the next few weeks. And that will conclude season 10, which is 100 episodes. And we've been doing this since 2016. So if you are looking for some of our other seasons and all of the different conversations and books and things that we've read through, you can go to my YouTube page, which is Church Love 333, and go to the playlist that says Daring Dialogues, and they're actually listed by season, and you can have a blast over the summer just catching up on all of the books and discussions that we've had. We've had quite a few. We started out on Periscope, and then we moved over to Facebook, and then Facebook became Racebook, and so we had to move over to Anchor, and we're over here also on IG Live. So we have been switching it up. And right now we are airing live via podcast on Anchor, also airing live on IG, and airing live right now on YouTube, all simultaneously. Why? Because we are trying to put these wonderful truths and information out in as many platforms as we can while we can. All right. So that's just a little bit about what we've been doing here. And our goal and focus is always to educate, entertain, inspire, and empower. We tend to not really lean to the entertainment side unless you think about in terms of our singing on this platform, but we really are here to educate, empower, and inspire. So we're going to pick up tonight at Good Night Stories for Rebel Girls. And we're going to start tonight off with a group of women by the name of Ethel Johnson, Babs Wingo, Babs Wingo, and Marva Scott, all wrestlers. Ethel Johnson had this to say: "We loved it, we ate it, we slept it, we talked about it. It was our life." Ethel Johnson was born May 14th, 1935, and she lived until September 14th, 2018. Babs Wingo was born 1934, and she passed April 11th, 2003. And Marva Scott was born November 21st, 1937, and she passed August 15th, 2003. All of them are women from the United States. Ethel was a girl who dreamed of rings, wrestling rings. She watched her older sister Babs wrestle at the gym. It looked like so much fun that she decided to try it too. The sisters grew up at a time when few women worked outside the home. But with men off fighting in World War II, new opportunities opened up. Inspired by the way Jackie Robinson integrated baseball, a clever promoter had an exciting idea. He thought black women wrestlers could draw a big audience. He was right. Ethel and Babs joined his troupe. They trained for hours practicing judo and gymnastics and wrestling moves like falls and flips. Their younger sister Marva joined a few years later. Around 1950, 16-year-old Ethel became one of the first black women to be a professional wrestler. Babs was right behind her. Small and feisty, Ethel would jump into the air, twist, and strike her opponent with both feet, a move called the standing drop kick. The sisters competed often against one another in packed stadiums all over the world. Because of segregation, the sisters couldn't stay in the same hotels or eat at the same restaurants as white wrestlers. Women weren't even allowed to compete in some states. It wasn't always easy, but Ethel and her sisters paved the way for other gutsy girls to tap into the ring. Now, I don't know about you, but I have never heard of them. So, guess where they're going? They're going on my Facebook page, Historical African American Images, so more people can learn about these three pioneering black female wrestlers. Next up is Flo Hyman, Flo Hyman, Hyman, volleyball player. Plays and born United States of America and Japan. Born July 31st, 1954. Transitioned January 24th, 1986. Flo was much taller than her siblings and friends. She had long arms and legs and did not like how thin she was. The kids in school taunted her with names like Jolly Green Giant. She tried to hide her height, but her mother hated it when she slouched. So Flo took up a sport that fit her long frame, volleyball. At 6'5", Flo played volleyball throughout high school and college. After 3 years at the University of Houston, Flo wanted to play for a national team. "You're only young once," she said to herself. Flo joined the national team and helped them win many medals, including a bronze at the World Cup and a silver at the Olympics. Her signature move, the flying clutchman, was nearly unstoppable. From close to the net, she'd slam the ball down. Later, Flo moved to Japan to play in the International League. Fans there loved her. Sadly, one day while sitting on a bench cheering for her team, she collapsed. She was rushed to the hospital but did not survive. Flo died from an illness called Marfan syndrome, a condition she didn't even know she had. Her long limbs had caused her heart to work twice as hard to pump blood all around her body. Before Flo died, few people knew about this Marfan syndrome. Her death increased awareness and led others, including her brother, to get tested and treated. A beloved team player, Flo is remembered for her hard work and mighty moves on the court. She said, "To be true to oneself is the ultimate test in life." Flo Hyman. Yet another sports figure that I did not know about who will be going on my page tonight. And last from this book is Florence Griffith Joyner. She said, "Dress good to look good to feel good, and feel good to run fast." Once there was a girl named Florence with fast legs and big dreams. As she zoomed past in her baby walker, her mom called her Lightning. When asked what she wanted to be, young Florence replied, "Everything." At 7, Florence began running races. She ran faster than everyone. Later, she set records in high school track. Despite being teased for her bold style, Florence was never afraid to be herself. Though she was a good student, Florence dropped out of college to help support her family. With help from her coach, she found financial aid, returned to school, and became a track star. At the 1984 Olympics, Florence won a silver medal. She was proud, but she wanted gold. Determined, she started training harder than ever. After she married runner Al Joyner, people began to call her FloJo, and FloJo made history at the 1988 Olympic trials. It was a windy day in July when she blew past her competitors and broke the world record in the 100-meter dash. At the Olympics 2 months later, she became the first American woman to win 4 medals in a single year. Spectators marveled at FloJo's strong muscles and long stride. She also captivated audiences with her flashy look. She sprinted in colorful, sometimes one-legged bodysuits and sported extra long nails. With speed and style, Florence inspired a generation of girls, including a most recent girl by the name of Sha'Carri Richardson, and her records still stand. Florence Griffith Joyner, December 21st, 1959, transitioned September 21st, 1998. Man, you got to give it up for these fantastic, wonderful athletes that we have learned about on tonight. Next up, we are moving to our next book, She Raised Her Voice, 50 black women who sang their way into music history. Let's see who the songstresses are tonight. All right, we've got Memphis Minnie, who sang the blues. We've got Odetta, folk and soul, and the Pointer Sisters, R&B and pop. Let's take a look at Memphis Minnie. Born June 3rd, 1897. Transition August 6, 1973. The Queen of Country Blues. I have sat and watched the evening sun go down. People saying it's sad, not even a friend around. Memphis Minnie. Memphis Minnie, whose given name was Lizzie Douglas, was nicknamed Kid by her large family, her mom, dad, and 12 siblings. She learned to play the banjo when she was 10 and the guitar when she was 11. She ran away from home at the age of 13 to play in the famous music and cultural scene of Beale Street in Memphis, Tennessee, where she performed under the name Kid Douglas. Her musical talent shone, and her sidewalk gigs earned her a job traveling with the Ringling Brothers. Memphis Minnie essentially grew up in the circus, and when she was an adult, she married a few times. Her second husband, Joe McCoy, was a musician as well, and they seemed to be a musical match made in heaven as they played together, eventually receiving a record deal. Their record label, Columbia, decided it would be good to name them Kansas Joe and Memphis Minnie, and that's how the duo played for many years. One of their earlier recordings was of Minnie's popular song, Bumblebee. By 1935, when Minnie was nearly 38, she had become a successful musician in Chicago and got a lot of work playing shows and making records. Memphis Minnie had a deep and bellowing voice laid over her finger-picking folk and country-style guitar playing. She is regarded as the queen of country blues, due mostly to her popular song, Me and My Chauffeured Blues. Her guitar playing sounds happy and lighthearted, but Minnie's voice is powerful, and her lyrics are sometimes based on misfortune, loss, and sadness. The poet Langston Hughes once saw Memphis Minnie play and expressed that she had a hard and strong voice. It was a voice that allowed her to attract fans who wanted to hear a confident woman sing her own songs. During the 1940s, Minnie began to play the electric guitar, which made her stand out from the growing crowd of black women singer-songwriters. She opened the doors for electric guitar players like Barbara Lynn to become successful in their music careers. Memphis Minnie is an icon who made unique music. She mixed country, folk, and blues to create her songs. She played music until she grew old and was physically unable to pick up a guitar. She passed away in 1973, and since then, country and blues lovers have never forgotten the mark she made on music history. And now for Odetta. Born December 31st, 1930, passed in transition December 2nd, 2008. The Queen of American Folk. The blues is a celebration because when you take sorrow and turn it into music, you transform it. Odetta. American folk singer Odetta was admired by many musicians throughout her career. Her music absolutely changed people's lives and opened the doors for many younger musicians to learn how to play folk. Whether it was the young Janis Joplin learning to sing like Odetta, or Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. calling her the queen of American folk music, Odetta shined a light everywhere she went, leaving an impact on people all over the world. Folk singer Bob Dylan traded in his electric guitar for an acoustic one after hearing her debut album, Odetta Sings Ballads and Blues. He studied her music and learned every song on the album. Odetta Holmes took voice lessons and learned how to sing opera when she was 13 years old. She studied music in college in Los Angeles and landed a job in musical theater at Turnabout Theater in 1944. She then performed in a touring production of the musical Finian's Rainbow in 1949 when she was 19 years old. Odetta didn't fall in love with folk music until she found herself feeling right at home in the coffee shops of San Francisco, where artists and musicians gathered to play guitar, read poetry, and make art. She was so inspired by this scene that she decided to record her own music and released Odetta Sings Ballads and Blues and another album called At the Gate of Horn in 1957. Her 1963 record, Odetta Sings Folk Songs, became the best folk album of the year, launching Odetta into a world of fame and opportunity. But her work in music went much deeper than simply attracting adoring fans. She often sang spirituals and work songs that enslaved and imprisoned Black people sang while they were laboring and dreaming of freedom. She was referred to as the voice of the civil rights movement because of her dedication to singing songs of love and liberation for her community. Civil rights leader Rosa Parks is said to be one of her biggest fans. Odetta's voice sounded like deep cries of joy and sorrow, and she touched people's hearts and souls. Along with recording and performing music live, she was also able to touch people by playing songs on TV. Her most notable appearance came in 1963 on Tonight with Belafonte. Harry Belafonte was a handsome and very popular Black actor and singer who gave Odetta a big opportunity by putting her on his show. She performed a song by herself and then one with Harry. Their duet was called There's a Hole in My Bucket, and the recording sold more copies in the United Kingdom than in the United States. Odetta's music was beginning to travel around the globe. Not only was she loved by many musicians, but she also often dedicated her music to musicians she loved as well. She recorded songs by Bob Dylan for her album in 1965, and in 1998, she released To Ella, an album named in memory of her friend Ella Fitzgerald, who had died 2 years earlier. Her album Blues Everywhere I Go featured songs she loved from Black women blues musicians of the 20s and 30s. Odetta was a tall, stately, and kind woman. She didn't wear makeup or put chemicals in her hair. She knew she was naturally beautiful. She is known to be one of the most important folk musicians of all time. Music wouldn't be the same without the gifts Odetta shared and the love she offered to the Black community. Odetta Holmes. And we are coming to our last, but certainly not least, of the R&B and pop, and I really call them also soul singers, the Pointer Sisters. They have been an active group from 1970 right down to the present. Isn't that awesome? They are known as trailblazers in country music. Ruth Pointer said, "We just shook everything we could shake." As daughters of a preacher, Bonnie, June, Anita, and Ruth Pointer spent their early days singing gospel music. And there we are yet again. Their parents were very strict about the music the girls listened to, banning them from non-Christian music into their family's home. But when their parents weren't around, the sisters enjoyed listening to R&B and rock and roll. The girls' mother allowed them to bring Elvis Presley's music into the house, despite strict rules against popular music, because even their mother enjoyed Presley's romantic gospel-like song, Crying in the Chapel. Look at this lovely illustration here of the Pointer Sisters. And very soon, there's going to be video for podcasts, so that's going to be wonderfully awesome. And you guys will be not only be able to hear, but also see, like IG and YouTube. Fun fact, nearly 20 years later, Elvis Presley would become a fan of the Pointer Sisters and would record a version of their hit country song, Fairy Tale. The Pointer Sisters started out as a duo with Bonnie and June. In 1969, the two performed in nightclubs under the name Pointers, a pair, but they soon after grew into a trio when their sister Anita joined. The trio was talented enough to sign a record deal with Atlantic Records, but they were unsuccessful in producing a hit song on their own. Instead, the three sisters became successful performing as backup singers for famous artists like Elvin Bishop and Grace Slick. More opportunities arose, however, when they signed a new record deal with Blue Thumb Records and added their other sister, Ruth, to the group in 1972. Their first album, called The Pointer Sisters, was released in 1973 and scored a hit song with their single, Yes We Can Can. Their fans loved them because they not only were great singers who could perform many different types of music like country, dance, jazz, and R&B, but they also had an incredible fashion sense. June, Bonnie, Anita, and Ruth wore vintage clothes from the 1940s, which gave them a very different look from other artists in the 70s and 80s. Their 1974 album, That's a Plenty, had a jazz sound, but there was one song that really stood out. It was a country long love song they recorded in Nashville called Fairy Tale. Anita had fallen in love with a radio DJ who couldn't love her back the way she dreamed he would. So Anita wrote the song with Bonnie, and to their surprise, it became a hit. The song was so good, in fact, that they won a Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance by a duo or group for it. And they were the first black women to sing at the famous country music venue, Grand Ole Opry. So, yes, we do have more black women in country now that are singing, but the Pointer Sisters did it first. The Pointer Sisters recorded live at the Opera House in 1974 and Steppen in 1975. Bonnie decided to leave the group shortly after to pursue a solo career, but Anita, June, and Ruth went on to have a very successful career throughout the 80s. Their song, He's So Shy, and I'm So Excited, and Automatic are some of their best known hits. Sadly, Bonnie and June Pointer have passed away. Today, Ruth's daughter Isa and granddaughter Sadako travel with Ruth as the new Pointer Sisters, sharing the original sisters' love and legacy with their many adoring fans. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the Pointer Sisters. Now, tomorrow we will be back talking about songstresses. We're going to be talking about Leontine Price and Queen Latifah on tomorrow. But we also have a special guest. So make sure that you try to get here right at the top of the hour to participate in our read aloud and our author discussion with Lady Artina Ngoma, Doctor of Psychology. She'll be sharing with us from her upcoming release, and we'll be having a conversation about that. This has been another episode of Daring Dialogues, and I've been your host tonight, Shantae Charles. Remember, light is the most daring opposition to darkness, so continue to go out and be light. Take care, and God bless.